My life and political thoughts as a tarot reader who thinks YouTube wants to know what the hell I'm thinking. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Aunty K's Tarot. It's been a week, hasn't it? Wow. All right, so it's the last weekend of summer. The equinox is about to be upon us. I'm filming this on Saturday, September 20th, 2025. The Canadian government gave a moment of silence for the white supremacist, Charlie Kirk, who righteously was murdered in the fight against fascism. You can't be surprised. 2 years ago, Canada gave a standing ovation to a Nazi. That could be partially due to American propaganda, where when they were told that the Ukrainian man had fought bravely against the Russians in World War II, they were like, oh, American TV taught us Russians are the bad guys. Let's stand up and applaud. Russians won World War II. They were allies of everyone who fought the Nazis. They gave a standing ovation to a Nazi, possibly by accident. Maybe they accidentally gave a moment of silence to a white supremacist, but that's their fault, because if you follow Canadian news, it just unapologetically repeats everything Trump says. It's worse than the American news, which is insane. The Americans are still bombing Venezuelan fishing boats, and the lie about drug cartels. Everyone elsewhere should be worried. Like, he said Canada was, had a big drug problem too. So it's all about everybody sending drugs to the U.S. No one's concerned about the fact that the Americans have one of the worst drug problems in the world. And a lot of it comes from right inside. You don't really need to ship fentanyl across international borders. You can make it yourself. It's a lot cheaper than shipping. The UN said over 70% of countries are currently under authoritarian governments, many of which were voted in. The UN also officially declared the genocide occurring in Gaza a genocide, finally. To be clear, if you read the Genocide Convention, which is like 4 pages long, you can read it. It's not hard. And because a lot of the pages are item, space, like sometimes you've got half a sentence taking up 2 lines. You can read the 4-page document, the UN Convention Against Genocide. Article 2, which is one of the longer articles and is still pretty short, has 5 points. Committing any one of those points is genocide. And under that definition, Israel's settler colonization and occupation of Palestine is a 75-year genocide. The Americas have been under genocide since settlers arrived. Like, it's not stopped. But in Palestine, and particularly Gaza, where they're concerned about or discussing, I think many of us are concerned about all of it and want to see all land back, because settler colonies don't have a right to exist. But the genocide that's going on there right now is horrific. It's horrific. And apparently the only one worse is what's going on in the Sudan. I think perhaps people feel more responsible for what's going on in Israel. And if you wonder why, well, because our countries fund it, supported it, invented it. You know, the places where we live are responsible for it, benefit from it. Everyone talks about being in Israel's pocket. Israel was created to benefit the white West. Doing what Israel says is the design. It's there to benefit the United States, benefit Britain, most particularly, and to some extent other settler colonies as well. So it does add an added level of responsibility. In all this craziness, I just wanted to clarify that I am against fascism. I am an anti-fascist. I don't get any funding or secret emails. As somebody who is anti-fascist, it's simply, you know, something I was taught in school, that we were supposed to oppose fascists and Nazis and white supremacists, and that people who killed them were heroes. That's what I was taught in history, you know, back in the 80s and 90s. It inspired many of us to beat up skinheads, which were the Proud Boys of the 90s. They looked more like they should be beaten up, kind of. I mean, people thought they looked scary in their bomber jackets and their shaved heads and their boots and skinny jeans. But other people also thought they looked clean cut, very 1950s, other than the boots. So like the Proud Boys look isn't really a shocker to me. The skinhead look was just a uniform, slightly harsher look, a white boy outfit, white t-shirt, jeans, shaved head, you know. Cheap bomber jacket. It was a lot more working class. Now it's a bit more middle class, right? The middle class, you know, parades around pretending it's the working class now anyway, so maybe that's why. But the response to that was sharps, which was skinheads against who are skinheads who are against white supremacy, white power, all the rest of that bullshit, and would beat up skinheads and keep everybody else safer by doing so. And that was what happened in my youth. You know, the good punks dressed up in a similar fashion to the skinheads and went around and beat them up, and the rest of us felt safer as a result. You know, the news was trying to figure out the difference between who were the bad ones, skinheads, and who were the good skinheads. But the general concept was that the white supremacists were the bad skinheads. Like, the news were aware of that. They were grappling with, like, why would these other people want to somewhat look like them? How are we supposed to identify the difference? And is it okay that they're beating them up? But generally people were like, yeah, because you know why? Because our grandfathers, who were like the fathers of the newscasters, essentially generationally, received medals for beating up white supremacists and fascists and Nazis. So, you know, it was kind of okay. Which also is to say, Gen X contains within it middle-aged versions of skinheads and middle-aged versions of sharps, of those who would go around and beat them up. All right. I'm too old to go around and do such things. And we're not allowed to advocate violence. So I would say, pray to your ancestors about it and see what they advise. So how would you go about that? What if your ancestors were also white supremacists or Nazis or settlers or any of the rest of it? What if you don't trust your ancestors? And Kelly AnnMaddox touched on something in one of her videos, one I watched last week, but I don't think it was from last week. Where, you know, she talks about being selective with your ancestors. And I do this too. I'm both selective with my ancestors because I'm half white. So one half of my ancestors is pretty tainted, right? There's going to be a bunch of colonizers and racists in there that I definitely want to bypass, and go back further than that, right? But like, again, do I know who my ancestors were further back than that? Do I align with them? So I, when I make my offerings, I speak to the ancestors who stand with me and the path that I am on. I also call out and honor what I call community-cestors, which is more what Kellyanne was talking about, your ancestors in revolution. They might not have a bloodline to you, but they are connected to you in politics and ideas and the fight that they're in. These are community-cestors. And I call to them, I give offering to community-cestors as well. And in calling them community-cestors, I'm not claiming a bloodline with them, but I am claiming an ideological fight in the spiritual world that I believe they're still fighting. I come from a tradition that believes we have 4 parts to the soul, and one of those aspects is like the human aspect of you, the part of you that's, you know, going to be overseeing, you know, these very human affairs. And so it is that part of the community-cestors soul that I am calling out to, and who is most likely responding and wanting to come and stand up and support the work that I am doing and the work that hopefully you also are doing. And so that's how I would go about that. All right, I have chosen 3 very different decks for us today. The Food Tarot, which isn't very tarot, but I have fun reading it. My own personally created Star Wars Tarot. And the Tarot Siren by Mr. Freiborg. All right, so we got 3 very different feels going on. We will start with Star Wars, and we're going to use the Jedi training spread to see where you are at. The first 2 cards will give us our light side and our dark side, lowest number to highest number, highest being light side. And the 3rd card tells us where we sit on that spectrum. All right, what do we got? So we have the Page of Coins. That's like a number 11. Eight of Swords. That'd be our dark side then. And the Ace of Coins. Opportunity is out there for you. It is. But it is sitting on the dark side because you feel too trapped to go out there and pick up that coin and get yourself on the light side and doing the work of rebellion. This is Essie, who's a farm droid. So perhaps you want to be putting your efforts in the coming rebellion, because we're already in fascism. Over 70% of countries have voted in authoritarian regimes. So food is likely what you need to go after. You need to stop waiting around for somebody to join you in on their team. That's going to get you in the wrong team. You need to pick that up and go find your people. Go do it for yourself. Get busy. Go do it for yourself. Food sovereignty, food distribution, mutual aid. Thought that one was probably going to be coming out of, the food tarot. Let's do the tarot siren, the mermaid one for those of you. We've got Star Wars, mermaids, and cheeky foods. Okay. What do we got? The Hierophant. That's number 5. 2 of coins. 4 of cups. Stop trying to balance the rules, the orders, the morality. It's bringing you down. Yeah, it has you in that approval rating of being in the middle, but it's a dangerous place to sit, and it's depressing you because you're right. It's not actually effective. You're gonna have to break some of the Hierophant's rules in order to stop feeling depressed about this and feeling like you're not doing anything, because as long as you're towing the line and upholding the center, you're not really doing anything to change it. The whole point of the center is to just keep balancing it out, and that's the dark side. And that balance and that 4 of cups in the center makes the center as dark as the actual dark side, because you're sitting on the fence. It's time to get off the fence. If you chose the Mermaid Tarot, hoping for something easier, it is time for you to go and get off the fence. Take a leap. The Fool. Oh, by the way, the shadow card for this is the... trying to pick it up. 8 of Cups. So you need to move on from where you are. You need to move on from where you are. There's stuff you're probably going to need to leave behind in order to take up your path. Mermaid folks, you all just need to jump in with both feet. All right? Okay. Food folks. Where's the food folks at? What are you guys doing? The Forever Golden, which is 15. Page of Sweets, which is 11. The Folded One, number 2. You're boycotting, and or I think you need to take up some boycotts. The golden one. You need to move beyond the fries and the golden arches and get investing in some boycott action. That would be your higher self. You've been trying to be nice about it, and maybe you're already doing some level of boycotting, but when you're out with friends, you kind of fold and just go with whatever is easiest. When the grocery store is out of the, no name, you fold and you get the Coke. I think if you got this, you need to be investing more in boycotts and instead of just folding up and calling it a day and leaving it to everybody else, you need to grab a friend and get out there and do some BDS work. Get out there on the pavement and do some BDS work to bring it home. Our shadow card is the Ace of Mains, some soup. You have to get out of the comfort zone. You have to get out of the comfort zone. On this one, you can't fold when you're out with friends. You have to make it uncomfortable and go do some BDS work. And those are the readings for today, folks. I've been working on things in here, organizing, getting ready to set up my big tank. Everything's ordered pretty much. I'm waiting on plants to arrive and the pump for the filter. I've been figuring out how I'm going to set it up. I've been sketching her out, and at first I was like, so I got a bigger driftwood, and I have an Amazon sword, which is about 8 inches. The driftwood is like 13 high, and I got like a 6-inch conch shell. It's on its way, and I ordered a 30 centimeter or 12-inch tall, 12-inch big Anubis and some jungle bell, which I'm gonna have to wait for it all to grow in at the back. But I was like, what am I gonna do with it? And I thought about spreading it all out, and then I was like, or I put it all together and like do the islandy kind of thing. With the driftwood, all my Java fern babies, I'm going to attach the Java fern babies to the driftwood and let them bush out around that. And I will put the Anubis in, have it attached to the shell. I was thinking of putting it in the shell. I've seen that done, and maybe I will, but it's also like it might be a sort of cool hidey space for the snails, or I want to go around and find some much more mini little caves of some kind to put around, or other shells. I'm not sure, but I think I'm going with the islandy look. I might put it in the center, or I might like do it on an angle and then have the valve on an angle waiting to grow in. because the valve's going at the back, either straight across the back or on an angle, I'm going to put the pothos plant all hanging in the front of the front of the aquarium. So that is my plan and the ideas I was playing around with. I'm looking at the colors now because I colored it last night with all the lights really dimmed, and then I was like trying to figure out the colors, and they weren't actually written on the pencil crayons, but I did okay. Other than I have purple instead of black, although I had black on this drawing, so at some point I found the black pencil crayon and then apparently couldn't find it again. But yeah, and I got myself like a good quality light, and it has this like it's full spectrum LED. It does all the stuff. It has fish mode and plant mode. I'll be using plant mode. I have it for the plants, but on the fish side of it, it has this moonbeam light. I don't know that I want to take it all out. But there's all the LEDs. And then it has this like special bubble that makes a moonbeam. And I'm pretty excited about this idea of a moonbeam on the tank at night, you know, watching the snails and whatnot. And there's more baby snails, and they hatched, and that was really pretty cool. The first set, I have 4 or 5 survivors out of like 150. Right now I have 300-ish baby snails hatched. We'll see how many that equals out to. My first clutch, I was like, oh, they're all purple or blue. Both clutches, one very small clutch and one sort of small clutch. They were both from Mon Mothma. And this time I have another Mon Mothma clutch, which was also smaller. And they all look purple, blue, maybe a pink, maybe a white. And the other clutch, when I woke up the next morning after the blue and purple one hatched, and I was like, oh, it looks green and moldy. So I wonder if I'll have some green snails in here. And I let it hatch naturally, and they're yellow shells with spots. I think all of them. So green snails, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I guess the black body gene in my purple snail, Mace Windu, is really strong. Because I think almost all the snails are going to have dark foots, dark bodies. But this will be interesting. I think I know why all my other snails died. My fertilizer had trace amounts of copper in it, and I have switched fertilizers, and hopefully that works out and does the trick, and that I'm much more successful. And I can't wait to have this new tank set up. I've the sponge filter from my platy tank is going to go into here, along with a second sponge filter that I'm going to test out. That's like it's small and it's covered. It's more like a kind of a miniature canister filter that sits in your tank, but it's powered with an air pump. Testing it out. And a new sponge filter will go in the platy tank. So I'm going to start out with 2 sponge filters. If I need to hang on back, probably not going to try hang on back again. If I need an internal filter, I will do that again. But we'll start out with this while they're babies, and I think that will suffice for at least the first month, maybe not, we'll see. My internal filter, which is rated for 40 gallons on my platy tank, it's gunky every time I clean it out, but you know, there's a lot of fry in there, so I suppose that's why. Anything else? I think we're all good. Talk to you later, folks.